So, Liz, whose side are you on? Team Edward or Team Jacob?
Team Charlie all the way, baby. He is the only man who truly loved Bella and always wanted/did what was best for her. The most overlooked and underappreciated man in this saga. But if I had to pick, Team Edward. The vampire with the skin of a killer who stole our hearts, or better yet, stopped them. What about you, Steele? Team Edward or Team Jacob?
I think I'm going with Team Dumpster Fire.
Hey, everybody out there listening for the very first time. This is The Critics and the Crowd, the podcast where we find the space in between professionals and amateurs regarding the media they love and loathe. Ever wonder why some films seem to light the world on fire in a bad way? We're here to help uncover some of the background and determine once and for all who got it right with these pieces of media.
Before we go any further, we have some introductions. I'm Steele Philippek, writer, producer, filmmaker, and transmedia architect, joined on this premiere by my talented and more vampirically appreciative co-host, Liz Ramirez. Who are you, Liz, and why are we listening to you?
Hello, hello. I am Liz Ramirez, the cool and dazzling co-host of The Critics and the Crowd. I'm an actress, producer, movie lover, and Twilight Saga fan.
And so it was your idea to start with Twilight. Tell us about your obsession of this. I hate to call it a film because I have a feeling it's more like a religion for you.
Okay, it was quite the premiere episode pick, if I do say so myself. You're very welcome, everybody. Obsession is a bit strong, but I will say my family did own a lot of memorabilia, including the Twilight Saga New Moon, the movie board game by Spin Master Games, TM.
Wait, what?
Yeah, board game. Literally the pieces were the crests from each family. I know. And I think we also have Twilight Seen It. My sister is she has a DVD now. She's like a DVD player. She's going through a phase and she's collecting and buying DVDs, and honestly, I love it. We just played Disney Channel Seen It. I recommend it for everybody. It was hard to play. It was actually really difficult, but I recommend it. Anyway, yes, Spin Master Games, TM, did make a Twilight Saga New Moon game. Crazy. Love it. To continue on, we owned almost all the books in the saga, excluding the 2015 gender-swapped retelling of Twilight, Life and Death.
Wait a second. Now, once again, sorry to pause. So it's gender-swapped?
Yes.
So it's the same book, but they just...
Yes. And get this, the character names, here are the name swaps. Beaufort Swan.
No.
And Edith Cullen.
No.
Ooh, Stephanie, what were you doing, girl? We owned a backpack or two, and of course, the classic Team Jacob, Team Edward shirts. Whew, this is taking me back.
So you could alternate depending upon your mood, right?
Yeah, you know, if you're feeling a little warm and woofy one day, or cold and sunken and I don't know, there's like a word I'm looking for, but I can't find it, and I don't care.
It's okay, I'm fighting the bile that was rising out of my gullet.
Though I was not as obsessed as some of my other family members, my mom and sister, I did join in on the fun by going to the midnight premieres of every film that came out after its predecessor.
So you call this a saga?
Yes.
So I'm just thinking of other sagas. So there is the Epic of Gilgamesh. There is this biblical narrative out of the Bible. And then there is Twilight. That's what I think of when I think of sagas.
Yeah, it's up there.
Okay.
It'll stay there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, apparently.
Forever.
With all of the various board games and novels.
Yeah, what even is the Epic of Gilgamesh? You could lie to me now and tell me what I'd say, yeah, sure. Anyway, am I outing myself? Probably. That's okay. You'll find that I do that a lot. Let's keep it rolling. So, Steele. Are you ready to tackle this epic love story? Better hold on, Spider Monkey. Only joking. If someone is going to quote the film, it's going to be me.
Yeah, you're going to be alone on that one.
The stats.
Twilight was released in November of 2008 to massive box office success, so much so that it immediately became the start of a 5-film franchise, all based on the works of Stephenie Meyer. Yeah. Stephenie Meyer, Oscar Meyer. I wish I was a Stephenie Meyer wiener. You can tell I'm not a Twihard.
In any case, these books had started off as a pet project by Meyer until they hit cult status and then global superstardom. You know that Hollywood wanted in on that success. But it took a remarkably long time for things to get to the silver screen. More on that in a minute. A synopsis from Rotten Tomatoes.
High school student Bella Swan, always a bit of a misfit, doesn't expect life to change much when she moves from sunny Arizona to rainy Washington State. Then she meets Edward Cullen, a handsome but mysterious teen whose eyes seem to peer directly into her soul. Edward is a vampire whose family does not drink blood, and Bella, far from being frightened, enters into a dangerous romance with her immortal soulmate.
The film stars Kristen Stewart and Robert Pattinson, both on the rise, but who had yet to truly flex their celebrity muscle. Stewart had been acting since childhood, appearing in Panic Room, Cold Creek Manor, Zathura, Into the Wild, and several other notable films. Pattinson was by no means a rookie, but his biggest role had been as the tragic Cedric Diggory in Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. Little did both know what they were signing up for when they finally landed the roles over literally hundreds of other potential leads.
This was a long, dragged-out process of casting because everything had to be just right. Meyer. Stephanie Meyer was involved in the process from the time production got serious, adding input and helping shape things so that there would be a fair amount of faithfulness to the book, though even she admitted that it would be difficult to condense a book that was hundreds of pages long and from a single viewpoint down to something manageable for a broad audience. So for my money, this is where things really began to coalesce because studio heads tapped Catherine Hardwicke to direct this film. She'd already worked on 13, Lords of Dogtown, and The Nativity Story, all films that had teens dealing with existential issues or, in the case of The Nativity Story, divine issues. Just as importantly, Hardwicke knew how to finesse a budget. Twilight was to be made for $37 million, which wasn't chump change, but a far cry from Iron Man, The Dark Knight, Hancock, and Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, all of which dropped the same year, and all of which cost over $150 million.
The writer, Melissa Rosenberg, a veteran of television work, Boston Public, Ally McBeal, Hercules, Birds of Prey, The O.C.,
which I guilt-watched quite a bit, I might add.
Miss Rosenberg had only written Step Up as a film before this, and she had to wrangle a script that had already been worked on by at least 6 other writers. As a matter of fact, it was the return to the source material that got Hardwicke attracted to the project. She'd initially dismissed the script that was shown to her, but when Hardwicke read the book, it turned out that she rather liked it. It's just that studio intervention and executive notes had turned the work into something radically different from the source material.
Rotten Tomatoes score, 47% from critics, 72% from fans. That's a 25-point difference, or 1 full star, and that means it qualifies for our program. We'll be covering film, television, and media in which there is at least a 25% split between professionals and audiences. What happened here? How did a film that wound up grossing over $400 million get such a mixed response from the critics?
Initial thoughts.
So Liz, you like this film, you like this series, you are part of the 72% of audiences that love it. Come to its defense here. What were you thinking about before you popped it into ye old DVD player? Or am I dating myself, thinking that the young folk use physical media?
I was feeling like having a Twilight marathon while gearing up to watch this. I loaded up on ye old Peacock, lol, for this dive back into the supernatural love triangle. I have to point this out right now. This is actually literally a matter of life and death. I have to show you. You guys, they literally changed the Summit and Lionsgate logo in 2025. The worst day of my life. Get me out of the sky and get me into the sun rising between the 2 little double mountains. What the heck? I'm going to steal the video I took right now. Okay, ready?
A few moments later.
So audiences, Liz just took me in a brief aside to show me the differences between the old Summit logo and the new Summit logo. I am now questioning all of my life choices. This is like when people complain about the Disney logo changing. You know, when it's the blue and white and then it becomes all CGI.
I was upset about that Disney one too. The boo, and then the little doo-doo-doo, and then it goes over. Yeah, I mean, but I also do like the CGI one. It's very cute. I got used to her. But this is weird because I know Twilight like that. And I want to buy the DVD so that I can load it in and that it can always be that one way. Why do you have to change it? Have the new logo in your new movies. Like the new DreamWorks logo? The entrance to the DreamWorks? That's weird. Just put the little guy back on the thing. I don't need to see Madagascar. I don't need to see what you've done. DreamWorks, your work speaks for itself. Everyone's going to know. Everyone's going to know what you do. We don't need, just put the little dude back on the moon fishing. The face you're giving me is...
I'm going to come right out and say I'm not a huge fan of this film or this franchise, but I do find the hatred for it to be mystifying. I'm not the target audience, and they love this movie. This isn't any sillier than series like Star Wars and Ninja Turtles, which I have worked on and adored, both as a kid and as an adult. I'm more on the critic side here. 47% is about what I'd rate this. 2 stars. It's certainly not a film that's so bad that it would allow the writers of Mystery Science Theater to wrap up work before lunch, though it does have a Riff Tracks commentary on it for those who are interested. I initially watched this at my then girlfriend's insistence, as she was a huge Twihard. read all the books, followed all the gossip, etc., etc. So maybe that prejudiced me because there I was on opening night, surrounded by a sea that was half made up of fanatics and the other half made up by their bored to tears partners. I hated it then, but I hadn't seen this film since it came out, so I was going in with that
My ex loved this and I couldn't stand it.
karma. I wanted to look at it again from the eyes of, if not a fan, at least as blank a slate as possible. Did you feel attacked, Liz, for being a Twihard fan? Because there was this kind of toxic energy that was going around, not just from critics, but from other people online who were just kind of hating Twilight to hate on Twilight because it was the cool thing to do.
Yeah, no, I definitely felt the He-Man Woman Haters Club energy. I think Twilight in and of itself started this sort of young women uprising, like we can join together and create these groups of people that are very strong and can influence media. And it's shown itself and proven itself in so many different things. Like, now you have these big stars like Sabrina Carpenter and Olivia Rodrigo and Taylor Swift, and they have these sort of like huge groups that influence so much. And I feel like Twilight really stemmed that new age, 21st century, early 2000s uprising of young women having some sort of say, and especially in social media and like Tumblr and things like that. But yeah, I mean, did I feel attacked? Not personally. I was right at that age where I was too young to see any of that. I totally recognize what the Twihards went through.
I think we're about to kick this off. So Liz, start us out. How does this film open?
We open on a black screen, with narration from Bella, our protagonist, and the apex of this love triangle. I've never given much thought to how I'd die. A cut to a lone deer in the forest being predatorily watched over. But dying in the place of someone I love seems like a pretty good way to go. Cut to a chase scene between the deer and presumably the vampire love interest we have yet to meet. 17-year-old Bella Swan leaves Phoenix, Arizona, and moves to Forks, a small town located in Washington State's Olympic Peninsula, to live with her father, Charlie, the town's local police chief. Her mother, Renee, is remarried to Phil, a minor league baseball player. Bella and Charlie's relationship is quite distant, as she hasn't spent time with him in years. So, clutching her small potted Arizonian cactus, Bella welcomes herself into her new, yet familiar, home.
So I work as a story world architect in that I help brands and franchises understand the underpinnings of what makes them work. So I worked on Pirates of the Caribbean, I've worked on Tron, I've worked on Ninja Turtles, I've worked on Halo, I've worked on a lot of major brands. And I have to say, I actually do like how the film opens. It's very small. We don't get an overload of lots of characters, backstory, or the fun in here, which is both the supernatural and the romance. Instead, we get a young woman going through something very relatable, a parent remarrying and being forced to move in the middle of a high school education. Bella is destabilized and unsure of what's going to happen to her. A great protagonist foundation.
This opening is absolutely everything. The use of the opening line from the book, the deer chase that hooks you in and makes you want more, and the narration. Oh, the narration. It is every teen drama. I feel like this genre opened the floodgates for the later teen dystopian novels. The overuse of descriptors really gets me. Loving, erratic, harebrained mother. Please, Stephanie! I'm so ready.
I'm not sure it necessarily started it, but it definitely evolved it and spun it in such a way that pretty much every series of this kind thereafter, if they didn't take notes from it, they had to purposefully step aside from those tropes because the groundwork had been laid in this series. I'm also going to say that one of the greatest criticisms of Bella and Kristen Stewart in this film is actually one of the characters and movie's greatest strengths. Yeah, she's a little bit of a blank slate, but I think that this allows her to be a great stand-in for the target demo. Almost any young woman can see herself in Bella, and that's what makes the coming romance so appealing.
I completely agree. I, like every other preteen and teen girl of 2008, wanted to be Bella. I wanted to be not like other girls. I wanted to be the girl who comes in and shakes things up. I believe Bella was a huge proponent of the not like other girls trope that totally shaped the early 2000s.
Oh, and to this day.
You're so right. And also the use of the song Full Moon by the Black Ghosts. Y'all, it's the perfect welcome to Forks. I'm going to say this now, and I'll say it a million times. The soundtrack for this film is gold, certified platinum. This is when Bella meets up with Jacob Black and his father, Billy. two Native Americans living on a reservation near town. There's a little bit of chemistry between Bella and Jacob, but it's going to be thrown for a loop when Bella starts her first day at Forks High School. Coming in the middle of the semester makes Bella fresh meat, or as Anna Kendrick's character, Jessica, says, yes, Anna Kendrick is in this movie, the shiny new toy. After being poked and prodded, Bella finally settles down with her found friends in the cafeteria and feasts her eyes upon the Cullen siblings, particularly dashing young Edward. He seems initially disgusted by her, but changes his tune one day in science class. The two share some rather awkward, yet charming repartee. Later, in the school parking lot, a van nearly crushes Bella. Edward moves quicker than sight can follow him and saves Bella, stopping the van with a single arm. She wants answers. Duh. But he refuses to elaborate and tells her not to make the mistake of befriending him. And frankly, I find that hot.
I find it rude. So I'm going to throw my hat into the ring here with the theory. Twilight is not a vampire movie. Twilight is a superhero soap opera. Yes, there are werewolves and blood drinking and all that jazz, but what's really at the heart of the film, it's the romance, the subterfuge, the seemingly tough bad boy, quote unquote, who is actually a tortured soul. It's Days of Our Lives by way of Spider-Man. Look to X-Men 97 for a modern take on this. Sexy people in attractive outfits slugging the tobacco juice out of each other before flirting and finding themselves put into love triangles.
What a strange yet based take, Steele. I appreciate that. It's something I really have never thought of. We swap form-fitting spandex suits for sparkly and later furry skin. I guess tropes find their way through all media. It's all been done before, but oh my dear Steele, at this time, it had never been done like this.
Oh, 100%. I don't think that this film gets made without the superhero films of the late 90s and early 2000s, but it was doing something adjacent, which means that there's an audience there willing to accept it, yet it does it in a new way that opens the floodgates to something entirely different. This is classic story world design. Take something familiar, add your own spin to it, and you're off to the races.
I will say this is probably 1,000 times more tantalizing.
Than Spider-Man?
Well, yeah.
I don't know. That upside down kiss with Peter Parker.
No, but
Mary
like,
Jane.
okay, but like the first kiss of Edward and Bella when he's in her room and she's literally in her underwear and he has to throw himself back to the wall.
There's a lot of Mormon sexuality going on throughout this film.
Is Stephanie Meyer Mormon?
You've got to be kidding me.
Oh, I don't know this. Girl, I'm not looking this up on a day-to-day. Twilight is not my life, but I just have fun and enjoy.
You are a super fan. You're a twihard, and
I'm a twi medium.
this is steeped in Brigham Young University.
You're kidding me. That changes everything for me. Okay.
This is going to be the beginning of a beautiful relationship, Liz.
Let's take a moment for Taylor Lautner's wig. And thank you. Also, another moment for the adorable relationship between Billy and Charlie. Them play fighting in the street makes me want to jump for joy. I like the little additions. They really, really put a lot into these background characters, and I really appreciate it. It really does a lot of the world building for you. Next up, Bella being bad at things and then nonchalant, go with the flow, kind of awkward girl. She's just all I wanted to be. Unfortunately, I am Jessica, the uptight, try-hard girly pop.
I'm glad that you can admit that about yourself.
You know what? I see who I am. I recognize who I am. It's tough, but I got to do it.
I see that man in the mirror.
Basically. I know the synopsis can't include everything, but to glaze over the lab partner scene where Bella gets close to Edward is a travesty. The fan blowing her scent towards him covering his nose seemingly disgusted and in pain, the little sniff Bella does to check herself, his little family crest bracelet peeking out of the sleeve of his jacket as he pushes the lab samples towards her, the intense look montage. This is one of the most iconic moments in this film of the many, many, many iconic moments in this film. I just had to make sure we mentioned it.
I am literally curling into a ball in my seat. My toes are curling. It is so cringeworthy, and I do not like cringe in my films. Give me heart-stopping horror. Give me unrequited love. Do not give me the cringe.
I argue that we need the cringe for this film. I argue that the fact that this film has gone on to take the shape it has and changing media for forever is because of the cringe. We need the cringe. I'll jump on that train later. There's something magical about the chemistry between Robert and Kristen. They are birds of a feather. They are on the same frequency, spelled with a F-R-E-A-K.
Not the F word I thought that you were going to lead with, but sure.
Get it? Like frequency.
Yeah.
Freak. Okay.
Yeah.
I will continue to use the word iconic because there is no other word for it. Him stopping the truck from hitting her shook the world and changed lives forever. This is one of the greatest scenes in cinematic history. If there's one thing Catherine Hardwicke should be remembered for, it is Twilight. It is this scene. Am I going over the edge? Maybe.
So there's Citizen Kane with so many classic scenes. The sled, the shadows, Xanadu.
Is that the roller skating movie?
There's the Star Wars crawl with the ships and the music and bum, ba da ba ba. There's the boulder chasing after Indiana Jones. And apparently there's the stopping of the van with a single arm. Thank you, Catherine Hardwicke.
Thank you, Catherine. God came down and blessed Catherine.
The angel Moroni came down and blessed Catherine Hardwicke.
Steele, I've never seen Citizen Kane.
Okay, I don't expect you to have seen Citizen Kane, but you have to promise me. I'll tell you what. I've only seen this movie. I promise to watch the rest of the Twilight series if you watch Citizen Kane. That is a 4-film swap to 1. But you have to promise me that you will actually watch that film from beginning to end. You don't have to like it. My English teacher in high school really changed my trajectory in thinking about the arts when she said you don't have to love the classics, but you do have to read the classics. And it's the same way with film. To understand why certain films are important, where we get the vernacular that we did, and Citizen Kane really did shift the ways that films were made. It looks beautiful, it looks modern, and the reason it was that Orson Welles just didn't care. And I gotta say, I'm not gonna call Catherine Hardwicke Orson Welles, but she had to make do in this picture. She had to do stuff and pull things off. $37 million is not a big budget. Admittedly, the stars that are in here were not the stars of later on. So Robert Pattinson and Kristen Stewart weren't commanding $20 million a movie, so that's why the budget was lower. But it's still a very tight budget, and she pulled off some really cool stuff here.
Wow. Steele, you guys need to listen to this guy. I'm serious. What? You don't have to love them, but you have to read them? You have to watch them? That's going to change my trajectory, honestly. Let's keep it rolling, though, on Twilight.
It's here that we learn that Jacob and his people have an animosity with the Cullens. We didn't know it yet, but there's some behind-the-scenes werewolf-vampire beef going on. Edward saves Bella a second time, and now, if the whole van, impossible strength, unimaginable speed thing wasn't a tip-off, Bella's finally convinced that something is going on. Yep, we got ourselves a vampire here. Centuries old, drinking blood, but only animal blood, so as not to offend teenagers, or rather their parents, and he sparkles in sunlight. Edward finally admits it, explaining that he found Bella's scent intoxicating, which explains away all of his stalkery behavior, right?
Yeah.
I will say one of the popular criticisms of this film is that Edward is very stalkery, and yeah, that's the case. But to that point, there's a lot in fiction that is delicious at arm's length and would be absolutely problematic in real life. Most people reasonably understand that vigilantism isn't a good thing, but we love superhero movies. We know that killing people to avenge isn't great, and yet we watch Taken and...
I love Taken, dog. I got a special set of skills.
Is Edward being a little much here and throughout? Sure. But tell me one person who wouldn't fantasize, note fantasize about being pursued by someone stunningly attractive, wealthy, and absolutely smitten with you.
I am one of those people who, at the time, wanted to, at an arm's length, be caught up in some supernatural love triangle shenanigans. Liz now, however, 23-year-old Liz, is very much, she's practical. I'd love to be caught up in a 401k and have some good insurance. All right, that seems more like the fantasy to me.
The whole sparkle vampire thing never sat right with me. Give me Nosferatu and The Blood is Life, Dracula any day. I do love a good vampire story, and I understand the sparkleness. It differentiates the character, and it allows Mayer and the studio to own this property and to have it be a very specific vampire film amongst a sea of vampire films.
He sparkles for the girlies, Steele. Let us have this. Also, I think it's an interesting take on the vampire's tell sign. We have, the classic doesn't show in a mirror, recoils at the sight of garlic or a cross, and can't go into the sun. This is a fresh take on the old. He doesn't just burn in the sun, he sparkles and then he burns.
I wasn't complaining. I was saying that I didn't get it, but I understand why they made that choice.
Now you get it now. You get it now. You get it now, Steele.
Did you ever have a partner whose scent was distinct and intoxicating?
If by distinct you mean smelly, well, I'm going to have to plead the fifth there.
Mm-hmm.
Just kidding. No, I never. Maybe like a crush or two, but never a partner. How about yourself? Anyone who was like your own personal brand of heroin?
My high school girlfriend, she had a very distinctive perfume that... you know what? I'm also going to plead the fifth on that one.
Oh, okay. I guess I'll never know. I died when we are at La Push and they're discussing Edward and one of Jacob's friends says, the Cullens don't come here, in front of the whole group of kids. And there's this long, awkward pause. Then right after, Bella and Jacob are walking and Bella asks Jacob about it. And he's like, very unironically, mind you, oh, you caught that? Ah, of course you did! The introduction of our antagonists, the three evil...
The skeezy.
Yeah, we haven't gotten there yet, but through your synopsis. But technically, by your synopsis point, we have gotten a quick little taste. The introduction of our antagonist is a little cheesy, but as I will say multiple times, the cheese, the cringe, is why we fans love it so much and why it has reached such a cult-like status.
The cheese stands alone. The cheese stands alone. Hi-ho, the dairy-o, the cheese stands alone.
What are you saying right now?
You were never a Boy Scout, were you?
Can I share a quick little Easter egg with you?
Sure,
Yeah. During the first romantic date at the restaurant, Never Think by Robert Pattinson is playing under the dialogue.
Huh.
Yeah, so you get to hear his sweet vocals while Edward begins to show some of his truth rather than his usual gaslighting. Isn't that sweet?
That is sweet.
Last thing. Almost last thing, maybe. We must talk about Bella's discovery of the vampire montage on the computer. I think its composition is fantastic. Paired with the music and quick cuts to key moments, this send-off into the most iconic scene in this film, though quick, gets the point straight across to our audience.
I get that this needs to happen. It is a hoary trope to have a character look up a figure from mythology to research it. We're dealing with a werewolf here. We're dealing with a leprechaun here. We're dealing with a unicorn here. It's been done again and again and again. I will admit, it keeps the plot moving. I'm not disliking this movie so far, I'll also say.
Good. Let's talk about how Bella gets asked to prom twice, and she couldn't care less, and her response is, dancing. Not sure that's a good idea for me. Our queen of quirk. I love her. I also want to say, Kristen really makes this character work for me. She has a sort of charm about the awkwardness that makes you love her.
What did I tell you, audience? Any young woman can identify with Bella.
Hey! Listen, I laugh with her and not at her. That's all I gotta say. This film started that trope where the lead guy is hyper obsessive and super protective of the female lead. We see him catch her when she trips, and he gets angry at her and says, "Can you at least watch where you walk?" This changed so many fanfic writers' brain chemistry and inspired countless Wattpad entries.
Someone has not read Wuthering Heights.
You're correct, actually. You're so right.
This is what
What's that about?
This is what I'm talking about, audience.
Who is Wuthering?
This is
why are they so high?
You need to read and watch the classics because, I'll just let you have some fun with that, and then you'll see where Stephanie Meyer got all of this jazz.
Okay, last thing. Well, okay, almost last thing. Another iconic scene, the scene where they go on a field trip about composting. I love it here. I want to go to Forks. It's so random and so iconic. Little shout out to Mr. Molina, played by Jose Zuniga. He really didn't have to go all out with this character, but he did. And we love him for that. He is who every teacher should be. Okay. Last thing. Done. I'm done after this. And we can go on. We can continue. I'm sorry, listeners. Actually, you know what? I'm not sorry. Don't apologize. The apple lunchroom scene. If you were smart, you would stay away from me. What if I'm not the hero? What if I'm the bad guy? 2008 Tumblr was quaking. Another iconic scene and Catherine being able to fit it into the movie because of the book cover? Are you joking me?
Bella and Edward fall in love and begin a classic high school courtship, and you know what that means. Introducing your partner to the family. There's Carlisle Cullen, a doctor at Forks Hospital, his wife Esme, and their children, Alice, Jasper, Emmett, and Rosalie. It's not exactly super warm, what with the fear that this relationship will have the whole family outed as vampires, but it's not cold either. Something that I think many teens can relate to. I have to say that when Robert Pattinson and Kristen Stewart are allowed to be together on screen, there's genuine chemistry. I mean, we all know what was going on behind the scenes, right, Liz? Or maybe you could inform our audiences. Just make sure you have your fainting couch ready.
Kristen and Robert, or Robston, as the Twilight fandom once coined them, reportedly fell for one another on the set of the first movie. After almost 2 years of speculation by way of rumor, paparazzi photos, and very cozy sightings, they were confirmed dating by 2010. However, all came crashing down for the couple with a cheating scandal that rocked the Twilight fandom, and dare I say, the world. All is forgiven now, as they, like most of us, have moved on.
Props to Catherine Hardwicke, who had to play chaperone for these two. I believe that at the beginning of this film, Kristen Stewart was underaged.
Oh.
So there had to be a little bit of a, oi, oi, keep it in the pants there. I don't know why I did an accent for her like that, but hey.
Also, let's hold some space real quick for the line, is she even Italian? Her name is Bella. Writing is A1. Thank you so much.
There's Shakespeare, there's Alexander Dumas, and there's Stephanie Meyer. What was it like introducing your partners to your family? Probably a little wiggy, but at the same time, kind of like not awful either.
Yeah, I mean, it was always tough introducing dates to family, but much like most of the Cullens, my family was very inviting. How was your experience? On a scale from blood-drinking vampires making human food to a pissed-off vampire glass bowl shatter.
It was okay. My parents were actually pretty welcoming and open. My brother less so, but that was kind of his role. So, yeah, I'd say not quite, vampiric in nature.
As this whole romance saga has been going on, 3 nomadic vampires show up and threaten to ruin everything. These aren't the cute and cuddly Cullens, but more of the classic rip-your-throat-out vampires in the forms of James, Victoria, and Laurent. This trio has been responsible for a series of deaths being investigated as animal attacks, in a classic film trope of small-town police assuming that there's a wolf or a bear out there instead of the ravenous undead. The tracker of the group, James, is very, 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 very excited by Bella's scent and becomes obsessed with her. Edward and his family try to protect her, but James is infatuated and begins to hunt her for sport.
Now, I'm going to say something shocking here. This segment of the movie is where it lost me. I was digging the whole unrequited bad boy love angle, and as soon as we start to get more action, it felt like Bella lost a lot of her agency, and she was just something to literally fight over.
No, I have to wholeheartedly disagree. This is tied for the top iconic moment in this film. All the fans of this film know how this scene alone left an indelible mark on them. The mix of the song Supermassive Black Hole by the band Muse, the superhuman actions of the Cullens, and Alice's baseball pitch, if you know, you know. Make this one of the greatest scenes in film history for me. A feat of film direction, editing, and scoring. Cinematic history was made, Steele, and we have never been the same. Now, my thoughts as we get into the quick action that takes place when we finally are introduced to our 3 dangerous yet sexy vampire antagonists. The fast-paced and scary race against time and death always thrilled me as a young viewer. However, I guess I can see where you're coming from, Steele. Bella does lose a lot of say over what happens to her next, but I argue that it is because this is a world she is not familiar with. So the best and only thing to do is follow the Cullens and try not to die by way of creepy, sexy vampire. I will say that the loss of agency only comes for a bit until she forces action from Edward to protect her father and leaves Alice and Jasper to save her mother. Her strong mind and perhaps young recklessness, let's not forget she's only 17, never let her back down from a challenge.
I know there are a lot of venerated scenes and, let's say, celebrated moments. One might even call them prominent. Or renowned. Legendary, one might say. You'll note that I'm giving you synonyms for iconic here.
Yeah, I can tell, Steele. As I'm listening, I'm actually writing them down because I just want to remember them. Venerated? What does that mean? Iconic, I guess.
So I think also maybe a part of this is that the film is very bifurcated here. I would make an argument that it is a bifurcated film of a sort, and existentialist cinema. Bifurcated films are films that have two distinct and consecutive plots, like Chungking Express, Life is Beautiful, and interestingly, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, where you have two distinct sections of a movie that are kind of squished together. And you have that, the first half of this film, it culminates with Edward and Bella coming together, and that arc is over. And then the next arc opens up with our antagonistic vampires. The whole film works together. It's just, it takes a very different spin, and that's probably why I feel that it doesn't quite work for me at this point. The first half, once again, is kind of existentialist. It's about searching for love, understanding oneself, understanding mortality when there's immortality in the world. These are films that ruminate on the nature of existence. People think of works of Godard and Herzog, and they are, but there are lots of very famous films that we are familiar with that struggle with the idea of existence. Toy Story 4 is an example of this, and a lot of romantic films like When Harry Met Sally and Wings of Desire, which don't have that typical beginning, middle, and end structure. It's much more about examination, and I think that there is a fair amount of examining here, and I like that in the first half, and then I think a lot of it gets chucked out when we start fighting.
Bella flees with the Cullens by orders from Edward, then finds herself trapped in her old ballet studio after being coerced into going by James to save her mother, who has presumably been kidnapped by him. James infects Bella with his vampire venom in the encounter, but as luck would have it, the Cullens arrive and save the day, decapitating James and burning him in a move that I wouldn't exactly condone for a teen romance film. But hey, I'm not gonna condemn it either.
Edward removes the venom from Bella so that she doesn't turn into a vampire, but as it turns out, Bella wouldn't mind. We get a nice little coda at prom, which Bella attends with Edward. He refuses to turn her into a vampire, for now, but their relationship has been solidified, though it will be tested in 4 future films, as we know when we see Victoria, James's vampire bride, watching our beloved couple, no doubt plotting her revenge. One thing I feel this film does from a story world perspective is weave in all of the teenage romance stuff into a story about vampires and werewolves. We get prom, we get biology class, we get meeting the parents. That's all great narrative design. You can see such things in Smallville and John Hughes films from the 80s, 10 Things I Hate About You, where you take Shakespeare or Superman or any of those classic plots and you throw them into teenagerdom and have all of that. It's a great way to spice up some things that might be a little flat. For more such tips and tricks, listeners should download Building a Better Story World, where I, Steele Philippek, will use my dulcet tones to aid you in understanding and crafting your own story worlds.
I can't agree more about the weaving. LOL. I mean, I haven't listened to Building a Better Story World yet, but I will. After this, send me the link. The addition of high school tropes is what made this film so reachable to the young masses and what cemented this film for fans who are now older as a piece of nostalgic media that will forever remind us of our teen/young adult days.
So we have this huge fight scene here that is probably the largest deviation from the source material. As the novel was from Bella's perspective, she was unconscious for a big chunk of this. It was described, but it's a great cinematic decision to put this at the forefront. Film is a visual medium, and while I think some of the dialogue and acting is silly here, it comes across as fairly impressive. I will also give Stephenie Meyer here some credit. There were certain times where she was working with the production and she said, "Oh, that's a much better line than I would have come up with." And there were a few lines that she felt that she liked that they came up with that she had to say, "I'm sorry, we can't. This is a big part of the fan community. People have this line tattooed on their skin." So to change that would rub fans the wrong way. And I think that that's a reason why all film adaptations should really try to bring the author in on this. Not all authors are as engaging as Meyer is, but one should try and really understand where the fans are going with this, because then you get a movie that the fans will like as opposed to just one that they will tolerate.
I absolutely agree. Great take, Steele.
Thank you.
I wanted to bring up something that I realized while watching the film again. In the sequence where Edward is driving her to his place, the life and death race, she passes by her high school friends laughing and leaving the diner. And in my mind, this is a symbol to show that Bella is leaving all of what she knows behind. And from that moment on, her life is never the same. And in the span of less than 2 years, Bella will graduate high school, get married, have a baby, and become a red-eye, blood-sucking newborn. Wow.
Do you see the symbolism for premarital sex or lack thereof in this, and how Bella is rejecting the trappings of society and beginning to accept her role as a wife and mother figure. And she is very gung-ho about this. And Edward is like, I must wait. We must wait. And she's like, no, I'm okay with this. She has fully committed to this.
Steele, don't you dare ruin this movie for me! Don't do it! Don't do it. Look away.
I looked away.
I also love how we had to wait to the end to get some blood sucking on screen. It's the perfect timing, and we have worked so hard. Our audience has worked so hard, and we have been through so much, and now we get what we came for.
The end of the movie?
No, the blood sucking.
Oh, for me, it was the end of the movie.
No, okay, but also we have to talk about the end of the movie where they're slow dancing and she's wearing that blue dress. She comes down in her Converse and her cast. Oh my God! And then he dips her, and he goes for her neck. Oh, it was a perfect ending. I will say the whole Victoria thing was like freaky because then in the next movie she's like not. Well, I think was it New Moon or was it? I don't even know which one it was. Where I think it's New Moon. Victoria comes back and it's like newborns. It's the whole thing. No, that's the third movie, my friend. Second movie is with the Volturi. Holy cow, but I don't like New Moon, so. But I'm going to watch them all now. I'm happy and I'm ready.
Ready to get into trivia?
Yep, trivia. Trivia.
Stephenie Meyer was heavily involved in the script process and was very gracious with cuts, as we talked about. Prior to that, the scripting process was notoriously poor, at least early on. Some of the early scripts had next to nothing to do with the book. As stated, Catherine Hardwicke, the director, almost passed based on those scripts, but became more intrigued when she read the book.
I unfortunately have never read the books. I know. Shocking, right? LOL. I'm just not a bookworm. What can I say? That's why I love film so much. I'm just kidding. I like books. I read. I can read. Having never read the books, though, but doing some fierce Googling, I have come to find the book reader audience is in agreement that the movie is quite cringy and too condensed in its timeline. But of course, it has to be, unless we want 3 Twilight Part 1s. They say the story is more intricate and delicate in the book and focuses more on the feelings Bella and Edward harbor for each other rather than their naivety and unprepared teenagerness.
This is naturally kind of the push and pull of an adaptation. If a film is too close to the source material, it loses the majesty of film. But if it's too far and you don't wind up with anything that resembles the source material, why bother? It's kind of like a remake. Like, you kind of have to do this very delicate dance. Because, once again, if it's just a shot-for-shot remake a la The Second Psycho, why? On the other hand, if it's radically different a la The Second Total Recall, why? There has to be a reason for that.
We almost had a Superman vampire. It is said that Stephenie Meyer posted on her website that she wanted Henry Cavill to play the role of Edward Cullen. Imagine that, ladies. The iconic apple shot, to replicate the book cover, took 13 takes to get right by way of fishing line and crane.
If you would like to know more about the actual production of Twilight, I would highly recommend the episode on this film from What Went Wrong, a podcast that is about troubled film productions. While not as notoriously difficult of a production as a film like, say, Cleopatra, there were lots of snafus and condensed schedules and things that had to be shot around in order to pull this film together.
Pros.
And I can't stress this enough, soundtrack. Supermassive Black Hole by Muse, Decode by Paramore, Bella's Lullaby, Full Moon by The Black Ghost, Eyes on Fire by Blue Foundation, to name just a few. That's my pro. I'm for my first one. The number 1 pro. Thank you.
This film feels pretty slick for a budget of $37 million and 44 shooting days. Typically, I'd expect something like that to feel lower budget, like The Maze Runner and Elf, but this felt much bigger than that, so I have to give credit where credit is due.
I loved the casting choices for the film. Each felt like a puzzle piece that came together beautifully and ultimately shaped and propelled this franchise.
The acting from those casting choices, particularly from everybody not Kristen Stewart, was decent, on par, good. I understand why Stewart made the choices that she did. I'm giving her those props. She just wasn't for me.
I have to disagree with that. I enjoyed Kristen Stewart's acting. I think any other choice for casting would have toppled this movie over. I think Kristen made a clear choice in how she portrayed Bella, with her awkward, jerky movements, stuttering, and aggressive nature at times. I don't think a wrong choice was made here. I feel like the hatred of the character falls on the script and the lack of space for Bella to show more of her personality.
I like the cinematography of this film. It feels very much like a modern Bronte novel. Speaking of Wuthering Heights, there's this kind of gothic romanticism that's been updated to the Olympian Peninsula.
I think the pacing of this film is also very good. I don't think anything happened too fast or there was any unneeded scenes. I feel like the movie was the perfect length to be reachable to its audience. Also, I want to note the incredible practical effects. In the making of the Twilight video, they use this sort of treadmill-like thing that's moving fast as the vampires are walking on it at regular speed, making them look like they're really fast. This is like the same tech used in long airport hallways. If you know LaGuardia, you know what I'm talking about. I mean, really, a lot of them have it. Every damn time I'm on one of those things, I can't help but think I am a supernatural being, preferably a sick-ass vampire from Twilight.
Cons.
The dialogue is really cringeworthy. This is the skin of a killer. I don't like the rain, any cold or wet thing. You better hold on tight, Spider Monkey. And so the lion fell in love with the lamb. You're like my own personal brand of heroin. Liz is reveling.
I'm
and
so happy.
I am just...
This is going to be hard for me. I don't want to have any cons, but maybe, I don't know, maybe the cringe in certain scenes, I guess. I mean, I love the cringe. You know me. I literally said I love the cringe. I don't know, but maybe like the freaky Edward stares. That was when he looked like he's in pain when he's smelling her. Maybe because he's in pain, he has to hold his body back. Oh, I just love this movie so much.
I know I said that it takes a while to get going, but this film is very deliberate with its pacing up front. It's my favorite part of the film, so I can't knock it too much, but it's pretty slow. I think possibly because these are two different tones that are smushed together, that might be why I'm giving this criticism. It's not a big one, but it does feel a little out of place.
The vampire contacts look so fake. I have a thing about bad contacts in film.
What about it?
That's it. I just don't have a thing about it. I don't like them. That's my thing. Can my thing just be simple? Why do I have to have all this, like, a paragraph about my thing? What are you, my college professor?
But this is a podcast.
Oh, yeah.
The whole baseball scene makes me want to retch, as does the second half of the film. You'll be shocked to hear that once they ditch the romance and dig into the vampire on vampire action, I lost a lot of interest. I get it. People love it. Not for me.
Boo. Can one of my cons be your wrong opinion on the baseball scene? I literally have no more cons. I love this film so much. I'm not sorry.
Personal opinion.
So, Liz, this was your pick. You rewatched it. What are your thoughts coming back after so many times and so many years?
We can all agree on the absurdity of the film, but I think that's what we love most about it. These over-the-top, cultural zeitgeist-changing tropes and potentially laughable acting. It's no The Godfather, but it was never supposed to be. This is a melodramatic, teen, supernatural soap opera romance that we can laugh at and love. Also, I like Twilight more than The Godfather. I know I'll get a lot of hate for that. I apologize.
Not hate, just disgust and judgment.
And disappointment.
Yeah.
I'm not mad. I'm disappointed. Your turn, Steele.
So I came into this movie thinking that this is a 1 star out of 4, 25% movie. I really didn't like it the first time I saw it. I got to admit, I saw a lot more here the second time around. I still don't love it. But after doing research, after watching it with a critical eye, after understanding the artistic choices that were being made, this does get a little more of approval from me. 2 stars. 2 stars out of 4. I think this film had to do a very particular thing to attract fans of the book and the people who had never read those books, much like you, Liz. And you came into this, and this was a film obviously designed for somebody like you. So it did its job. It has won over huge swaths of fans, not the least of which are fans of the franchise, but people who just like this movie. So, props for that.
The verdict.
The critics and the crowd are divided. Professionals gave this film 47% on Rotten Tomatoes, a hair under 2 stars. Audiences dig Twilight far more, at 72%, which is a fraction below 3 stars. Liz, who got it right? The critics, the crowd, both, or neither?
I'm gonna go with my crowd here. Twihards, rise up! It's a very fair score. My score, however, is 4.5 stars from me.
Out of 5.
Out of 5. Yeah, out of 5. Yes, sir. That's like 85%, right?
Yeah, something like that.
85%. B+. The film.
No, that's a B.
Oh, it's a B?
Yeah.
Oh, see. Oh, 85. Oh, B plus of 89?
Yeah.
Oh, dang. See, I actually don't know how B pluses and minuses work. I kind of just like add it to stuff. And it's kind of like funny to look at, you
dig
know?
it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. You should. The film, though silly, is a certified classic that influenced media such as The Vampire Diaries and Teen Wolf. It shaped young adulthood for many a viewer and gave us cultural phenomenon like the scandalizing 50 Shades of Grey book series, as well as film adaptations. Who's to say if the world would have been better off without that one? Whether or not she meant to, Hardwick leaned into the cringe and the high stakes that gave this film its charm. Twilight is not the greatest, but it's something that has been enjoyed and will be enjoyed, cringed at, and loved for years to come.
For my part, I think I'm going to say that both the critics and the crowd got it right here. If it was just me, as I stated before, 2 stars is dead on the money for my take on the film. At the same time, this film knew what its target audience wanted, and it gave it to them. It didn't try to spoon-feed audiences or hoodwink them. It worked with the creator, it worked with the actors, the director, the writer. They all came together to give the fans what they want. I'd compare this to something like the original Transformers. It's a movie about robots turning into vehicles and beating the crap out of each other. It fulfills that promise in spades and even has a little bit of characterization thrown in to boot, much like Twilight. As a shocking aside, Transformers and that kind of film is a little more my speed, and, not a surprise, it has a fairly similar Rotten Tomatoes score. 57% critics, 85% audiences. Feels like a double feature at a drive-in, doesn't it? One for the ladies, one for the gents. You're just staring at me, Liz.
Yeah, I'm just staring at you. I'm just thinking. I have to just say, after the credits rolled this time around, I just was transported back to being that little 6-year-old girl walking out of the dollar movie theater, forever changed.
And I was that 24-year-old male trying to allow my then-girlfriend to have her fun and not tarnish this film too much. And I'm not sure I can say that I did my job there. But in any case, that is a wrap for us on Twilight, the very first episode for the critics in the crowd. Please subscribe. Please stay tuned. Find us on all of our social media. So, Liz, before we let our audience go on their merry way, any parting words?
If he shines in the sun, he's the one. Peace out, y'all. The Critics in the Crowd is hosted by Liz Ramirez and Steele Philippek. Editing and production handled by Steele. Social media by Wendy Dobkin. Logo by Aria Feliciano. Music by Joel Studler, provided by A Humble Bundle. All audio effects are sourced through freesound.org and used under the Creative Commons license. If you feel that we used a piece of audio to which you own the rights, please email helmstarmedia@gmail.com.
This episode was recorded at the Communipub branch of the Jersey City Public Library. Special thanks to Kyle Ramsey and all of the amazing librarians at this location throughout the United States and throughout the world.
To quote Barbara Kingsolver, I'm of a fearsome mind, throw my arms around every living librarian who crosses my path, on behalf of the souls they never knew they saved.